Good morning, my friends. How is everyone doing this morning, this beautiful Sunday? I am going to be sharing the Kardec radio here on my iPod, so all my friends, my personal friends, can also listen to it. So just give me one moment, and I just did. Okay. Let me make sure that it's all here. It's all set up for us to talk. And today is week 2. Okay, let me change privacy. Let me put for the public. Okay, we are all set. And I wanted to give good morning to all of you again. For the next 12 weeks, we have been doing a project in which we are going to implement the 12 steps that they use in most of the addiction recovery systems, recoveries. And one of them is the 12 steps. This is the most successful way of recovery, originated by the Alcoholics Anonymous. But they've been used to so many different groups, the Gambler Anonymous, Overeater Anonymous, all types of different things. And this is the most successful program to date that it works. And why does it work? Well, my guess is that it is heavy in God. It is heavy in the connection with spirituality. So we can't discount that this program is so successful, and this program is perhaps the one that mostly implements God in it. So again, coincidences as spiritists, we cannot believe in that. Anyway, so the first week, that was last week, we spoke about the first step to the Alcoholics Anonymous, which the first step is to admit that you have become powerless, that your life has become unmanageable, that alcohol has really taken over in a power more than you can handle it. And the first step is to admit that you have a problem, that you are an alcoholic, and that you have really lost control over that. So it's very important in the first week that we admit what we suffer. Bringing it to here, to our talk, we're talking about depression and anxiety. So it's very important for us, again, week 1, just a wrap around the week 1. We need to admit that we have a problem. We need to admit that we do suffer from depression, and we are going through a problem, that our anxieties are taking over our day-to-day. So we need to admit that. We need to admit, and it may not be depression or anxiety, but it may be anything. It may be that you are jealous, that you are abusive, that you are whatever it is, angry, that you carry a lot of anguish, whatever it is, it's very important in the first step to admit, to really understand and admit that you have a problem, and this problem has become really unmanageable, and alone you cannot do anything to really dig yourself out of this hole. So today is week 2. In week 2, in the Alcoholic Anonymous, the 12 steps, it really says, to me, one of the most interesting things that any 12-step program or any program could say, to admit that you need to believe that a superior power is the power that will restore your sanity, that it could give back your sanity, but you need the superior power. And in the case, God. Now, a lot of people have adapted the system to take God out of the context and give other names. Oh, you must believe that, and it could be nature, it could be Buddha, it could be whatever it is that you believe is a higher power, and that's fine if that is what will work for you. Some people have even said maybe AA itself could be the power superior to you, and that's completely fine. However, we're here at Kardec Radio, and we're going to talk about God because it originally meant to be God, the superior power, and we're not going to change anything about that. We're going to maintain that, yes, without believing that God can restore us to our original, let's say, before the depression and anxiety has kicked in. We need his help. We need to, first of all, acknowledge that only God, and that once we start to include God in our lives and include God as the superior power that can give us back our sanity, we need to address that. First of all, the word sanity and insanity. Well, I like Albert Einstein's definition of insanity, and I think we all have heard this, but Einstein says that insane, right? The definition is when someone does something over and over and over, the same thing, and then they expect a different result. Well, to me, that is really the best definition of insanity, because as those who are suffering from depression or as those who are suffering from anxiety, we have to reevaluate. If in step one, we admit that we have this problem, then step two, we evaluate and we say, what is it that I keep doing over and over? What is the behavior that I keep repeating? But deep inside, I want something completely different. I want a different outcome. And it's impossible to have different outcomes repeating the same behaviors. It's a matter of logic. So once we invite God into our lives, and again, in question 1 in the Spirit's book, let's remember the importance of God. Kardec decided to ask in his very first questions of over 1,000 questions, what is God? Now, Kardec did not ask who is God, because look at the wisdom of this man. He knew God was not equal to us. He's not a who, but he's something that we cannot really conceive. We cannot even understand what is God. His power, his love, his amazingness is so abundant that we don't understand. And we have to say what, because he's not a who as our human selves. And so, of course, that the spirits will bring the point that he is this almighty knowledge. He is this one being that is the creator of all. He is not created. He is the creator. All of us were created by him. So he is the beginning, the supreme intelligence, the primary cause of everything. So, and then the spirits go on to say that we do not, and we cannot grasp what this definition even mean, because we don't have the ability to understand God yet. So for us to understand that God is love, God is good and just, and he would never, someone or something that is so good could not possibly create something that is evil. Something that is complete justice could never act in an impartial way or an unjust way. So once we acknowledge that God does exist and he does not, he's not far away. And sometimes we think of God as being so far away from us, but in reality, he's right here. He's right here next to us. He's right there. You're watching, he's touching you. He's in the air that you breathe. And so in the case of depression, when we run away from the things in the world, so we can run away within us, and we kind of turn the light off outside. Isn't that what depression is? We turn the light off. It's kind of like you go into your room and you turn the light off. But the light off is everything else, is the entire world. It's the voices, your job, your lover, your pets, everything that's out of the inner you turn the light off. But once you bring God, and once you say, I need God to return me, to restore me to my sanity, because I have been doing the same thing over and over, and I have been crying, and I have been carrying anguish, and I have been carrying so much pain and sadness. So once I bring God into this, once I admit that God can restore me back, and he is the only that can, he can use and he can give me so many tools for me to do this, but he is the fountain of all the tools that will come out of that. So, and he can bring you back. He can get you out of this depression. In the case of anxiety, sometimes we say, oh, but I'm so anxious. I truly don't even know how to even begin to imagine getting out of this anxiety, this unsettling feeling that everything is not all right and everything is going to happen and it's not good. And the years keep going and I can't really reach what I want. And this unsettling feeling that you're running out of time and all these things that you want are not happening. Well, again, once you bring God and you really truly give yourself to him, and once you say, give me what I want, and you don't pray for him to listen to you, but when you pray for you to listen to him, then things change. Then this anxiety, again, God starts to give you back this insanity, this sanity that you long lost a while ago. This belief that everything is an emergency, and things are not an emergency. And we know in Spiritism, how long, friends, are we going to live? We're going to live for an entire eternity, really. There is no death. We'll continue to exist. And once we admit that God will bring back this sanity, this calmness in our lives, we have to invite him in. How many times, and this is a very important step, because once you believe that, and we're not talking about believe with quantity, faith with quantity, we're talking about quality. Once you truly believe that you are in so much need of help, that you need to admit that there is this Almighty, this God, the God that will come and save you and take you right out of this hole of depression or anxiety. But you have to put him first. How many of us put money first? We put everything else first. We put our parties, we put our all our excuses before we truly seek him and invite him into our lives. How many of us talk about God? We talk about everything else. We talk about politics. We talk about dieting. We talk about all these things, but we rarely talk about God, who really is the most important thing is in our lives and the only one capable of giving us back our sanity. And again, depression, anxiety is a form of insanity because we get into this hole that we continue to do the same thing over and over and over, but our hearts saying, I need to get out of this. I need something different to happen in my life. I can't continue to cry. I can't continue to worry. So again, inviting God, admitting that God can restore your sanity. But for this, my friend, we need to work in humility and humbling ourselves. Why do we need to sometimes get to the bottom of whatever anguish we're having, whatever sadness is in our lives? Because from then we can only climb up, but we can't climb up alone. So once we admit this power, and it's interesting because humility and intellect, they walk hand to hand. Sometimes we think that a lot of the scientists, a lot of the atheists, the agnostics, all the people that really don't accept God as really the one and only, the supreme intelligence, the creator of all things, well, we believe sometimes that they're just intellectuals and they really rationalize the inexistence of God, which is the complete opposite. The more that science walks and improves, the more God will be brought to light. Because God is science, and the two of them are perfectly in connection. And the more intellectual we get, the more we will accept and embrace God into our lives. So the humility and an open mind, it leads us to faith. And the Alcoholics Anonymous will say that. Once you humble yourself down, when you say, I need help, I need to believe in God. I need God into my life. And once I have an open mind, even if I don't have this faith yet, even if I don't even believe, but once I have an open mind, and you see people that suffer, they usually have a very closed mind. People that they refuse to believe that there is a cure. People that refuse to believe that there is an antidote to anything, to any ailments, and there is. So once that you open your mind and you say, I'm going to be humble and I'm going to have an open mind, that's when you leave openness in yourself for God to really invite himself into you, because he's really there. It's us who don't accept this invitation, who don't say, wow, actually, He does exist, and he's right next to me, and he wants to do everything for me. But he is so good and just that he won't invade my will. So you need to will. You need to want to get out of where this dark place that you are. So Kardec brings to us, without charity, without love, without God, there is really no salvation. There is no really way out. So again, in the case of depression, in the case of anxiety, let's embrace spirituality. Let's embrace the knowledge that God exists and you are not alone. Let's humble ourselves down to think, no, I don't know it all. I don't know how to get out of this, but God does. And if I embrace him, he'll show me the tools to get out of this. So let's really admit that. And let's understand that his will is what is good for us. Our will is just what feels good to us. And most of the time, momentarily. It's like Santa Claus. We give Santa Claus a list, right? When our kids give Santa Claus a list, let's put it that way, we can't possibly fulfill all their list. They want to go to the North Pole. They want to go to the moon. They want these toys that many people can't afford to buy. So what do? We give our kids what we can give them and what is good for them. If they ask us for a collection of swords, we're not doing that because we know they don't have the skills to use swords and they're going to get hurt. So we also do this list of things we do, and we tell God what we want. And we have this list, just like our kids write the list to Santa Claus, we write this list to God. That is an impossible list because it's not a list that is good for us. So surrender to his will. Understand that anxiety and depression is trying to tell you something. It's trying to teach you a lesson. If you are depressed, what is the best thing a depressed person can do? And that is work. The first thing you should do is be useful to others. Chico Xavier would say that. Go visit a hospital. Go visit someone. Go visit an orphanage. Go do some volunteer in anything. Go help the homeless. Oh, but I don't feel like it. You don't have to feel like it. You just have to do it. You see, it's breaking that cycle of the sameness, doing the same over and over and hoping to get out of this. So for depression, of course you need your doctor, your psychologist, your spiritual center, the spiritist center in our case, but you need most of all to do unto others what you want. You need to get out of depression. You need to embrace God into our lives. That is fundamental. For anxiety, same thing. It's very rare that a person who is very anxious and does no volunteer work, does no charitable work, doesn't get involved in the community for the sake of others, it's very hard to get out because depression and anxiety becomes all about us, our lives, our problems, what I need, what I want. And once you take that I out of the equation and you start doing what others need, it's impossible to take a trip to Madagascar and help build an orphanage there and again be depressed. Why did Mother Teresa, who suffered from depression, what was her medicine? Doing good in the world. That was her medicine. And it's funny because we think that she did this for others, and of course she did, but she was doing that for her because she knew the depression was so heavy that she needed her medicine, and her medicine was going out in the world and doing something for others. In her case, much less fortunate in a physical sense and a needful sense. And she got back so much love that was her medicine. I'm not saying for you to go be Mother Teresa. I'm saying for you to find something that somebody else needs and try to fulfill that for that person. And that will be part of your medication, your medicine, your antidote. So bring this God into your lives. And what pleases God is seeing their children get along, seeing their children helping each other. So friends, again, anxiety as well as depression, it really becomes about us. And once we put others, then we start to do this work of it's not just about me anymore. It's not about my me running away from my anguish, my feelings, my thoughts, or it's not me running away from my present and just taking refuge into the future and nothing is working. It becomes about I'm part of something bigger. God is in control. And again, I will break that cycle of doing the same thing over and over and hoping for something different, because that will not happen. So to sum up, the second step, again, first step is to admit that I have a problem. Admit that, yes, I need help. I have a problem. And it's unmanageable and I need something else. The second step today, we're talking about let's accept that there is something more powerful, God, and He can give me back the power that I need so much in my life. He can restore my sanity. He can dig me out of this depressed state or this anxious state. He will show me the tools. So let's put God more into our lives, not as quantity of prayers, not as any of that. This is a message of hope, to know that someone is watching over us and He got our back. How wonderful is that to know? So this is a message of hope, of knowing that you are not alone. But for that, you need to do your part. You need to surrender yourself to Him, and you need to understand that God needs you to do your part. And I'm glad that you're here. I am glad that you have joined us here on this morning coffee for the soul. I thank you all. We try to keep it short and sweet in about 20 minutes. We have reached our 20 minutes. Next week is the third week. We're going to talk about the third step. So we're doing this for 12 weeks. Go back to the last video. It's here on Kardec Radio. You can put my name, Debora Beldowicz, and look at the week 1, first step. Today, second step. Next week, we'll talk about the third step of the 12-step program of the Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're going to implement the depression and the anxiety in those steps. Okay? Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And again, let's invite God, who is here on the flowers, on the leaves, on yourself, on your skin. God is everywhere. God is in the air that you breathe. Breathe Him in and believe that He wants what is best for you. Invite Him into your life. Talk about Him today to someone. Let Him be part of your conversation, and most of all, let Him be part of your life. Not in a superficial way, not in a prayer that is just repeated just out of your mouth, but invite Him in your heart to take over your life and Him to be first. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you next Sunday here, 8:30, Kardec Radio, Facebook. I'm going now to my own personal Facebook to do this in Portuguese. Thank you so much.